So today I am joined with Tavleen Kaur and Dani Kaur from Sikh Teens. I'm going to hand it over to them to introduce themselves and their Sikhi journeys.
Hello, everyone. My name is Tavleen Kaur. I am one of the co-founders of Sikh Teens that we started this past COVID. As far as my Sikh journey, both my parents are Amritari, so I've always grown up not cutting my hair. I've been around Sikh Gurdwara a lot. And I went to Sikh camps as well. So Sikhi was a large part of my life for a really long time. But once I started getting older, like once I started hitting teenage years, I realized how important Sikhi had played in my, how important of a role Sikhi played in my life. So I got a little bit more interested in Gurbani and I started learning more about philosophy. We had conversations with our family about Sikh concepts just randomly. And overall, it helped me understand what Sikhi meant to me. And that kind of, sparked a lot of inspiration to start Sikh Teens with Dani and a couple of my other colleagues as well. So overall, Sikh Teens has helped me focus on, my individual relationship with the Guru. And I found an amazing Sangha through Sikh Teens where I got to learn and grow and lead with a group of amazing people. So it's truly a enriching experience. Yeah.
Hi, I'm Dani Kaur. I am 14 from California. And my Sikhi journey, I am super blessed to be born to a Sikh family. My parents are not Amritari, but I do hope that in the future I can be one day. I've grown up, keeping my hair. And when I moved to California, that was actually a game changer for me in my Sikh journey, because at the Gurdwara that I go to here, a lot of people are Amritari and they're really connected to their faith, and that inspired me to be like them also. So I started doing pot, and I started with Japji Sahib, and now I try to do almost at least for the Banis every day. And I hope that I can get even farther with my Sikhi through Sikh Teens.
So tell me, where did Sikh Teens sort of start? You're both in different parts of America as well. So how did you come across each other?
Yeah, so I guess I'll talk a little bit about how it sort of started. So I have a lot of friends from camp. I go to camp in Wisconsin. It's called Camp Sikh Versa here in the United States. An amazing camp. And I have a couple of friends from there. So throughout COVID, we've been just talking all the time. We have some sort of discussions about Sikhi here once in a while. And there was one time where I was talking to one of my colleagues, another co-founder. Her name is Amanpreet Kaur. So we were just talking about Dasambani and talking about just having a really amazing discussion. And then it ended up being that we started talking about other organizations such as Core Life and all of the other podcasts that we listen to, like Sikhi. And we decided that there's not many things out there that are directed towards teenagers, because us as teenagers at the time, we were 17, 16. At the time, we were like, oh, well, there's nothing that's really connected us to our Sikhi as teenagers, in the modern world, right? So since we were blessed to have some education and a lot of resources at the time, we decided to on that day, we were so inspired and we were so excited to start something. On that day, we ended up creating a website and creating an Instagram and some sort of plan, because we were just so excited and passionate about this project. So, but then it just ended up being some sort of a hobby on the side, but it really became one of our biggest passions and something that we do every day and spend so much time on. And it turned out really well, I think. So, but yeah, that's pretty much how it started. But then we started slowly adding members
yeah. So I joined when I was just on Instagram one day, and I came across the account, and I was like, wow, this is cool. Let me DM them and ask if I can get involved. They told me that I can write an article, so I was like, yeah, I'll write an article. And I wrote that, and about 2 weeks after, I asked again if I can join a team as to help out with all the events and programs, and they let me, and I was super thankful, and I got super excited. And so ever since then, I started helping out with organizing a Google Calendar and making the social media designs for Instagram and more.
I love it. So do you all do different things for different parts of social media, or are you?
Yeah, so I do the social media part of Sikh Teens. So whatever is up on there, is whatever I do, and I also manage like the reels and the Instagram lives and the IGTVs, but all of the content, the aesthetic part of it is Dani. So she creates all of the canvas and all the designs, and she does a really great job at it. So
What is the motive behind Sikh Teens then?
So I guess the biggest motive is to create a healthy space to discuss some topics within Sikhi that may be hard to understand for Sikh teenagers, right? So like we have like a language barrier. I may not like understand all of Punjabi like thoroughly, like through like all the kathas and stuff, and maybe even through Kirtan and Gurbani. So it's more of like a resource where you can learn about Sikhi through English, but then slowly sort of get into the Sikh concepts and understand why we do this, why don't we cut our hair, why do we have to do nitnem every single day, stuff like that. And so it's kind of like a beginning steps to get teenagers who maybe like strayed away from their Sikhi or may not really understand the importance of it, but then they can slowly get back in there and understand it and try to learn and build their own beliefs based off of what Sikhi teaches.
I've actually read your first post on Instagram, and I'm actually looking at it now as well. And the caption's really interesting because you said that this forum was constructed in order to discover a link between our lives in the modern society and the Sikh lifestyle. So what is the importance of linking modern day life with Sikhi, especially because both of you are relatively young as well? So was there difficulty in doing that, do you feel? And why do we need to do that now?
That's a really good question. I don't think there's a lot of difficulty like trying to balance both of them, but it's super important to balance both of them in like our daily routines, because oftentimes we're like you just watch TV all day and like we tend to like not even remember Waheguru for like even a second of our day. So it's super important to have that balance of religion and also like having fun throughout our day, because that can help us live a more happier and like meaningful life. We can't like instantly stop doing all the things that are part of our daily routine, like using our phones or computers, but you can like add things to your routine, like doing Jaggery Sahib in the morning when you're getting ready, or Kirtan Salah before you go to sleep. And those small things really make a big difference. And you can connect to your faith and be more mindful when you're living your life, and also have the fun and excitement of what you normally do in your life. And that can help you get the balance that you need to get closer to your faith.
Do you feel like finding that balance in itself is difficult? How do you go about understanding what that balance truly is?
Yeah, reading Gurbani is a really great way to help understand that. Also like just like reflect on yourself, reflect on like what you want out of life, like reflect on your Sikhi. I also I like to listen to Nanak Nam's videos. That organization is a really good way to like help understand your journey and like how you can go further in your journey to Sikhi.
Yeah, if I could add on, I think like the balance between modern life and Sikhi, I think it depends on like where you are in your journey. Like if you are somebody who may not be as like versed in Sikhi, it can be like a hard thing to balance. And I think generally it's pretty hard to balance. It's not that easy. We're always under influence of like societal standards all the time, where especially if you're from the Western countries, you're seen as the odd one out. It's really hard to wear a patka and go to school and like be okay and be strong and confident in that. So like the balance between those can get a bit hard, but I don't think it's impossible.
That's a very good point. I feel like the way that you guys are very open about saying that it's very difficult to balance both is a very good place to start, because not a lot of people acknowledge it openly. They won't say that it's very difficult because it might not seem right saying it. But growing up in this generation, it is very difficult because, we're all of us are girls as well. It's no secret that having gays is very difficult in itself, and keeping our gays is difficult in itself. So it's good that you guys are very open about it. And I like the fact that I want to say organization, but if I'm using the wrong word, let me know. But organization, I like that it's pushing and helping teens and the youthful generation to kind of see that it's very difficult to make that balance, but it isn't, as you said, impossible. It's completely possible to create that balance there as well. It comes back to my question of like, why is it important that we have that balance though, especially nowadays?
It can, it can like help you live a more purposeful life and help you get purpose in your life, and you can be more happy overall and more like live a more meaningful life.
Now, a lot of your Instagram is pushing, I feel like there's loads of Sikhs that I've seen on your Instagram. You post quite a lot of pictures of different people within Sikhi. Are these all people that work within the organization? Are these who are these people? Tell me more.
So if you're talking about like the bigger Sikh figures, they don't work for our organization, but they have helped and been a part of our events. Like for example, Dani was actually one of the people who organized this panel where we talked about law and Sikhi and how to balance Sikhi with law if you're interested in the law career. So we had like Gurbir Singh Grewal, we had Guratan Singh from Canada, Malika Panji, we had Aman Singh BC from Canada as well. All those people may not have been a part of Sikh Teens, but they're helping us in our journey with, helping other teenagers, go get through Sikhi as they grow older. We also have like Valerie Kaur, who's going to be doing Instagram Live, where we get to talk about Sikh concepts, like her concept of revolutionary love. So it's just more like understanding Sikhi and the Sikh concepts. But we do have a team of like 13 people that worked very hard. So and we do different like events like panels and Gurbani Vichars and word of the week stuff. So we all work really hard, and I'm really lucky to be a part of the team like this.
I've actually seen your word of the week stuff as well I think on TikTok too.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, do you know what? That is how I came across your account originally, and I think it's really cool that you're doing what you're doing. But how do you get those videos? Like, is that everyone that works with you as well, or?
No, so we actually opened that up to our Sangat too. We hit a certain point where we were like, you know what, we shouldn't be the only ones doing this because we're learning ourselves, right? We don't know everything, so we're just like, okay, let's have the Sangat get involved too, because this is in the sense a community organization where everyone gets involved. So all the Sangat members all of our people in our audience, they also do word of the weeks too, and they submit a video like, this is a Gurbani word I want to share, and then we kind of feature them on our TikTok and our Instagram, and they get to have like, a spotlight.
Awesome. I love it. And the fact that you guys are so young as well, and to be involving this many people in what you're doing, it's incredible. And I think my next question to you is kind of like, what is the importance of, pushing these people that you're posting about on Instagram, but also with the Sangat that are doing all the TikTok stuff? Why is it so important to involve this many people in what you guys do in the seva that you guys carry out?
So I think it's really important to involve the Sangat because we would be nowhere without the Sangat. Sikhi is, I think, from what I understand, Sikhi and Gurbani really talk a lot about Sangat and how important being a part of a Sadh Sangat is, because it's just a community of people that help you get closer to the Guru, and whether that's holding each other accountable, sharing different resources, or like having different discussions. It's really hard, I would say, especially for me. I'm talking from a personal standpoint. I would say it would be really hard for me to have that relationship with the Guru if I don't have my Sangat around me, with me there. That doesn't mean I'm dependent, but it's definitely, a helpful tool to get to where I need to be or where I want to be, right?
Yeah, their support is like, it's what inspires us to keep going and keep doing what we're doing for the Sangat. And yeah.
Why do you guys feel like it's important to then educate the youth?
The younger generation, we're not like, especially for me, I can't like read Punjabi that much. I don't understand Gurbani. So, I can't read the Guru Granth Sahib Ji. So, it helps to like have a resource to use to learn more about Sikhi and like get more knowledge and wisdom.
Like I also like to add on to that, I think it's really important for this younger generation to learn more about Sikhi and to get closer to their Sikhi, because I honestly think it's like, what I think of Sikhi is it's like a center where I can go to, and it's kind of my like escape from like whatever is happening outside here. And societal standards are huge, and they really are influential, and that can stray us away from Sikhi. You know, whether it's like Maya, like the latest clothing trends, you know, that's Maya, you know. So getting back into our zone, getting back into the center, I think is really important, especially as younger teenagers, because we are always influenced by these little things on social media all the time, you know. So it's important to get back in the zone sometimes. And I guess Sikh Teens and a lot of other resources as well are important to, you know, get other people back in the zone.
Yeah. Like before I even joined Sikh Teens, like I had no idea why I was doing Path or why I was going to Gurdwara, but you know, because we don't really realize the importance of the religion in our life. We don't realize why it's so important to follow our faith, follow Sikhi. But when we do like understand that with resources from anywhere, like then we figure out, oh wow, like Sikhi is such an important element in my life. That's the moment when you can get close to Waheguru.
This conversation links very much back to a podcast that I've recorded recently, talking about there being a disconnect between the younger generation and Sikhi. So do you guys feel like there's currently a disconnect between the younger generation and Sikhi?
Definitely.
Yeah, I would say so. Again, probably because of the influence we're under, whether it's social media or society again. And also because of that language barrier. A lot of us in the Western world, especially, you know, we speak English all the time. We don't really like speak Punjabi that much at home. There are some people that do, but especially in learning Gurbani, I mean, that's our resource to connect with the Guru. That's our resource to actually understand what Sikhi is even talking about. And if we can't understand that, then how are we going to get closer to the Guru? Then our only resource would be Sangat. Even though our Sangat is really important, the Guru Granth Sahib Ji is our only source whenever it comes to Sikhi. So I think in learning everything about Gurbani and being able to translate that and understand that is imperative to becoming a better Sikh and like slowly going towards the path to the Guru.
I also feel like it's some part our fault that, you know, we're kind of disconnected because, you know, I go to Punjabi school. There's a bunch of resources out there that we have for us, but how many of us like pay attention to Punjabi school? Like, I can't tell you how many times I got in trouble in Punjabi school, right? It's our fault that we're not making that effort to get closer to our faith. And we really should, because you know, like I said before, we don't realize that it is super essential for us to follow Sikhi. But when we make that effort, we can really make a difference in our lives.
Isn't there one Gurbani line? I'm not able to get the actual Gurmukhi part of it, but it's like, if you take one step toward the Guru takes 100 steps towards you. You know, that I think is a really one of the like Gurbani lines that I go towards whenever I think about, you know, my own effort in Sikhi. Am I doing enough and stuff? Like, is this like, am I doing the right thing? You know, stuff like that. So I mean, that Gurbani line really reminds me, you know. So
how do you feel like you are both managing with the disconnect then? Do you feel like, have you guys taken active steps yourselves to try and remove that disconnect between you and Sikhi?
Yeah, I try doing Nitnim every day. You know, I would be lying if I said, yeah, like I do Nitnim, like I focus whenever I do it. You know, some days I don't find the mindfulness that I need to like focus and listen to what I'm saying and like actually make like a connection in my soul. But you know, I still try to make an effort, even though sometimes it may not, like I may not feel like it's working. It's, you know, it probably will be worth it in the future.
Yeah, and like to add on, I think being a part of Sikh Teens and trying to create these resources for everyone else, for like everyone in the Sangat, it has helped me, you know, learn more and have that effort in Sikhi. And it's really like sometimes even put me in my place. You know, I'm not like my Sangat members, they they tell me if I'm doing something wrong. They'll be there to like put me in my place. So I think it's the effort has really helped with the Sangat at Sikh Teens.
Obviously, we're not that far off of age, but I feel like it's very interesting to hear how you guys feel about the situation as well, because the answers that I've had are always different with other people. And you talk about how, you guys make resources and stuff. So tell me more about what seva Sikh Teens carries out. You spoke about panels as well. So tell me more about these panels too.
Okay, so our first effort that we put out was our articles, our blog posts. We have the audience, the Sangha, write articles for us, and they can fill out a form. We also have group panels, which are a way for Sikh teenagers to help to better understand the connection between like careers like law and like doctors and business leaders, and how they implement Sikhi in their life with the busy routine of their jobs. And then we also have Gurbani Vichars, which we are working on right now. And I think one's coming up very soon, next month. And in these Gurbani Vichars, we translate the Gurbani lines and we explain it in a way that teenagers can understand.
Yeah. And I think one interesting thing that we've started doing is, how like we have older people like do kathas all the time. They may do it in Punjabi, they may do it in both, it's really important to like learn, try to understand that Punjabi and do that. But the difference that we're doing, like the difference between that and this is we're the ones teaching it after 2 months of research, obviously, and 2 months of gathering a lot of resources and learning from different people. Us as teenagers are teaching it. And that's only to create like more of that Sangat feel, that your Sangat, the people who are your age, are teaching the same thing to you. So it's not as intimidating and it's not as, hard to understand, that if these people are able to like understand it a little bit, then maybe I can. And it's a learning experience for everyone, even for us teaching it, so we don't know everything. I just want to emphasize. Yeah.
No, I love that. And what do you feel like is the difference between the communication coming from teenagers and then obviously coming from the elders, apart from obviously the language barrier? What is the main differences?
I would say the perspective, we can put it into experiences that teenagers can relate to.
Yeah, and like our modern age where we are right now, like this era of Gen Z, like we're able to relate to that, like those other like people who are a little bit older than us may not.
Us millennials, we don't get it.
Yeah, so they may not understand like the certain problems we deal with.
That's a very good point to pick up on as well. And you spoke about the panels. I'm going to go back to the panels again, but I also saw posts about, I think, toxic masculinity is something that you've brought up in before. So why is it important to talk about things like that amongst teenagers? Because for me, that's like, topics like that are things that I would not have addressed at your age. So why is this so big to talk about amongst people of your age?
So I think like different taboo topics like toxic masculinity and even sexual abuse, they happen a lot in our age group, surprisingly. And I don't think it's something to shy away from talking about. This is obviously a big problem, both toxic masculinity and sexual abuse and any sort of domestic abuse or anything. So I think it's imperative to have a little bit more awareness on that, so we can kind of open up with one another and share these stories that may seem uncomfortable to maybe our older like parents. Even like our parents may be like, I don't want to talk about this is too uncomfortable for me, like let's not even talk about it, right? But you have your Sangat here who is like, where the whole point is to talk about these problems and to share their stories. And so you don't feel like you're alone, because this doesn't necessarily have to be just a Sikhi related problem, but there's a lot of mental health problems as well, with depression. And that can also, the reason why we may have those things like depression and anxiety, that may come from our culture, or it may come from, our backgrounds and where we stand in this society, especially in the Western culture. So it's important to have the Sangat who can talk about these things, because older people may not want to, or they may feel uncomfortable, and they may not even have the right guidance to help you, because they don't talk about it, or because it's such a big taboo, right? So I think the whole point of this Sangat is to, hold each other accountable and help everyone get past the guru and get through this like world ocean that we call life, right? So that includes, healing members through trauma. And I think it's like important to be educated on these things so everyone understands what these taboos are and they can point them out and stop it from happening before it even happens, like or like sexual abuse or any sort of bullying, even if it's at school, or maybe certain phrases that induce toxic masculinity, like, oh, man up, like what are you talking about, right? Like the education on these types of things can really stop it from even happening in the first place.
Do you feel like these are big issues that teenagers nowadays deal with, especially within our culture, or do you feel like across the board it's just an issue that needs to be solved completely once and for all?
I think it is like everyone sort of thing, but within the Punjabi culture, there are certain things that we're kind of like left behind. Like there may be some other people, some other communities who are kind of more forward thinking or more like less conservative in like healing these things, healing these problems. But the Punjabi culture may be like, just don't talk about it, right? So we may be lagging behind still, but I think we can slowly get there. And I think there's a lot of other resources, like Core Voices is doing an amazing job with sexual abuse. Like they're doing a survey. We created a toolkit actually for people who have have experienced sexual abuse or sexual violence. So we created a really extensive toolkit with help from Core Voices as well. So like these sort of like creating these little outlets, like small, like slowly we can go forward and become less conservative minded and like don't talk about it and more like, no, like this is something that you can talk about and you don't have to be ashamed of it, right?
And you do all of this through social media. So let's talk about using social media for things like this, because as much as we would love to be within our Sangat all the time around people, being able to educate people within a Gurdwara Sahib and being able to talk to people, with COVID, we've seen how everything can very easily, get shut off. And we have been put into the internet world to communicate these things within Sangat. So has this been a difficult journey for you, do you feel? Do you feel like I've seen a lot about censorship and you guys have probably seen it as well. How have you tackled that side of things?
There are a lot of advantages and disadvantages to using social media, but I do think there are more advantages than some sort of difficulties we may experience. We've had very luckily a lot of support with what we're doing. We haven't had that many who have like that many hate so far, and we're really lucky to have not have that. But I do think social media is a really important tool to use, because teenagers use it all the time. Like I'm always on Instagram, TikTok is always there. Most of the social media users are within the age of 18 to 29 or that age range, and even lower than that too. So because almost every teenager uses social media, we can add a little bit more Sikhi to their feed, and they can gradually like understand certain concepts of Sikhi as they're like going through it. It's whether it's subconscious or consciously, it like happens. Like if it's like a word of the week, they'll listen to it and they'll understand it. Maybe it may not stick in their head, but subconsciously they're making an effort, right? Social media can also help us reach a lot more people. Like not just here in Texas, we've reached out to California. We have team members in the UK and in Canada now too. So it's reached everywhere around the world, and that you can make a really big impact through social media. And I think that's really beautiful. But I mean, obviously there are some setbacks when it comes to social media, but I think most of that is how we're influenced, not like how we've put out information as Sikh teens. I think we all get influenced by what's on our feed. And I actually want to add one more thing. Like, I think especially since COVID, I have been wanting to find a Sangat that may not physically be there, but virtually. Even here in San Antonio in Texas, I don't have many Sangat members who are my age. I don't. And I've always like craved that sort of Sangat if it's like outside of camp, I've always tried to crave that sort of Sangat. And I think offering these online sangats where we can get to know each other and like grow spiritually and professionally even, I think that's really important and really beautiful.
If I can add on,
Yeah.
Tavleen does an amazing job of engaging the audience and making sure that they get the content that we're putting out is what they want, and asking questions on our stories, and like letting them have fun, answering the questions and playing games. And she does a really good job of like making sure that they're following us and like having fun.
Thank you, Dani.
So cute. No, do you know what? It's very important that we're using social media now, because this is the future, right?
Mhm.
So, I mean, as we've seen, everything's kind of turned to the online world, to the internet. But as well as that, like, you guys have grown up with the internet pretty much, so the future is only going to be the internet. And especially with the generation to come below us, that's all they're going to know as well. So how do you feel like you're using social media to then put Sikhi out there? Because obviously, besides the seva that you guys are doing, what, let's say for the future, like, what is the goals of using social media right now to carry out your seva, and where do you see Sikh Teens going in the future?
As for social media, I think we should plan on like posting about real world issues that are going on and shedding light to those issues, like with carousels and our posts. But for the organization in general, we would love to have more opportunities where volunteers can get involved, then have more positions for team members and leaderships. And for the organization, we are not a nonprofit yet, but we are working to become one soon. And we also want to have more seva projects and have volunteers from around the world help out and participate with us.
And I think for social media, I think social media has like really cute little features that we can use, like quizzes on our story. So there was one time where we did like quizzes on Gurbani words, like, oh, what does mun mean, and then they had to like answer. And I mean, even though like going through it, mindlessly scrolling through like the stories, it's just there, and then it engages them to like understand, like, oh, okay, now I know what mun means, So I think it's really the little features that are used around Instagram and around TikTok, I think are really useful and can be utilized to like educate about Sikhi.
So, girls, thank you so much for joining me. We've had some lovely discussions. I'm going to hand it back to both of you to leave us with some final thoughts and where people can find you.
So you can find us on our Instagram. The handle is @Sikh Teens. We also have a TikTok. The handle is @Sikh Teens there too. You can get involved by submitting a video of a Gurbani word that you love, and we can share it on our Instagram and on our TikTok. We also have articles that are posted every 2 weeks on our website. It's just sickteens.com, and you can learn more about Sikhi through there too. And you can follow us on Instagram. We have certain little fun games that we play to get involved in Sikhi. But overall, the main message I'd like to share to the younger audience is that the resources are all there. They're right in front of you. Just you have to use it, and with the Guru's Kripa, you will get where you want to be and eventually get closer to the Guru's path. It's just all about your effort.
Yeah. One more way you can get involved with us is by nominating yourself or another person for our monthly Sikh Teen Spotlight, where we interview one person, one individual, or like a group of people who are making an impact on something and want to get recognition. So for me, one last thing that I want to say is, make an effort, just start by doing one thing at a time. You don't have to start with something huge. Just take it one step at a time and you'll get there.